Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. We'll just give another 5 minutes for everyone to join who are able to join, and then we'll start. So if I can ask you to mute for about 5 minutes, and then we'll start with the house rules. Thank you. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate the time and patience with our webinar this afternoon. We understand that everyone has, or most of the country has, load shedding. So if you do have a problem, the best way to sort out the problem is first thing to deactivate your camera, see if your connection stabilizes. If that doesn't help, you can always exit and come back in again. We're asking you to please keep yourself muted while the presenters are speaking. We would like you to keep your camera rolling if you can. Obviously, if you have a weak signal, we do understand. We ask you also to feel free to ask questions in the chat box, give us comments, any feedback and interaction. We appreciate the interaction, so please go ahead at any time. And then I would also like to remind you that the session will be recorded and it will be made available on social media. So please, if you do have a problem, please contact me directly or leave a message in the chat box as well. So I think we've got 21 participants already. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. We appreciate your time and patience. Right, so without further ado, I would like to introduce our speakers tonight. This will be Willie Snyman and Alta Woodendal. Alta is a professional financial coach. She obviously does life coaching as well, but in this capacity, a financial coach. Willie from Pretoria, he's a business coach and life coach, mediator, and so forth. Yeah, a warm welcome to Willie and Alta. Thank you. Willie, will you please go ahead?
Thank you, Michelle. I hope everybody is not too cold. And I just want to make sure if you can see me. In fact, I've just started to press something here. Can everybody see me? Michelle? Okay.
Yes, Willie, but you've unshared your presentation though.
Okay, no problem. I'll come back to that one.
Great, thanks.
Yes, very welcome. But maybe at this point, in short, when we had our session last time, we focused on boundaries. And the boundaries has to do with financial boundaries and relationship boundaries and so on. But just to start, for those who do not know me and Alta, just maybe a short introduction. Alta, in short, my colleague, why do you coach and who is Alta?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for joining us tonight. Yeah, my passion is to empower people, and I really got a love for people and I want to help them. It's your blessing is normally your curse because you take on the problems of the world. But yeah, I think elevating people, inspiring people, you know, to be the best and to master the game of life. I think we all want some self-mastery, and yeah, that's my passion is to help people.
Thank you. In terms of myself, I always say that I maybe went through you know, the whole circle. Started many years ago at Sanlam, was involved with selling, marketing, training, and later also became head of training and pension fund manager, etc. And retired from corporate life from Astute 6 years ago. And yeah, I've got all these, let's say, experience. Some people say wisdom. I would like to hope it's like that. And then, and now, what do I do now? So I would say that what can I give back? Maybe also think of my own legacy and make sure that all the things that I've learned through life can be give back to people. So that is where I am. And as I said, also, anything you want to add to what we said previously in the boundaries?
Yeah, I think for those of you that missed it, we can share it again. But we spoke about financial boundaries. It's one thing that I realized in the financial industry. Sometimes, you know, the conflict that we're going to talk about tonight is really not conflict. It's all about boundaries. It's not giving up and living your best self. And we spoke about financial boundaries and also the subconscious mind and yeah, how the subconscious mind is actually driving our subconscious behaviors and makes it sometimes very difficult for us to put boundaries in our lives. And it's got an impact on our relationships, but also within our finances. And I think that is critical that people don't realize is we all suffer with a problem with boundaries and we need to put clear boundaries in our lives.
Yeah, and also what we mentioned last time is when you say yes to something, you say no to something else. And if you say no to something, you say yes to something else. For tonight, how do you see our session of tonight?
Yeah, Willie, I think what we're going to discuss tonight is really conflicting values. I think sometimes we experience conflict, or people don't like to mention it, conflict, but we agree sometimes to disagree, or we disagree and we continue to disagree. And it's got an impact on our relationships, but it's also got an impact on the way we handle money. And if I can just use my own life, you know, myself and Willie, we dive deep into the enneagram, and one of my values on the enneagram is I'm a very loyal person, and I love security. So that is one of my highest values. So sometimes, you know, I will project on the world places that I need to feel more safe, and I expect the same loyalty from other people as what I give them. And sometimes that can cause chaos in my relationships and in my work, and also in, you know, the way we treat money. So it's part of our personalities, but maybe we must ask the audience, you know, what do they experience as conflicting values? And maybe, Willie, while they're sharing in the chat box, you know, what do they see as conflicting values, maybe in their own lives, within their personalities? But also, you know, why do you not get along with the boss, or with the spouse or the kids? What is causing the conflict? I would love to see some answers in the chat. So if you can share maybe in the chat with us, you know, where do you feel you can experience or see conflicting values playing out in your own life?
Yeah, I think, you know, when, if I look back, I think in my own life, I put a lot of emphasis on freedom and being independent, and always looking for new opportunities, you know, doing my own thing. And then I think COVID played a big role, and my own values shifted. I would say it's more like maybe also where I am in my life at the moment, it shifted more towards healthy connections, moved more towards my family, to health, and I would say a sense of purpose.
Emelina shared here, saying no, you know, to helping someone else. I think especially on the money side, you know, we all experience that. When do we help other people, and when do we look after ourselves from a money perspective? Anybody else wants to share maybe their own values, what they've realized in their own lives? Yeah, I think it's something that we all wonder about. What is our highest values? So we will do a little exercise on that to determine our highest values. But we will, I think we will move into the little exercise, but just to, as a people and they will work, 24 hours of the day. I mean, obviously their highest values will be, their work. Whereas other people is they spend a lot of time with their kids, mum spending a lot of time with the kids. And I don't know if everybody could hear me, but yeah, people spend a lot of time with the kids, mum stay at home, mum, their highest values will be kids and looking after the kids and what's going on. For some single people, it will be holidays and, social with friends. For other people, it can be, family. So, yeah, it differs through the stages or life cycles that we have in life. So sometimes you will realize that your friends that you've got kids, small kids, then all your values will be on the baby stuff, for example. But we will do an exercise. I think let's really do a little bit of an exercise. And it will take roughly 10 minutes. I want you to take out a piece of paper and a pen if you've got one handy there. And let's do a little bit of an exercise on values. And then we can see being aware of the now, taking out of the moment what I can, and being grateful for where I am currently. Harma, thanks very much. I saw retirement, lack of appreciation and acknowledgement. Okay, so the way the values, what we do with this little exercise, the subconscious mind is actually very powerful. 95% of our thoughts on a daily basis is driving our actions and what we do, and is also linked to our values. So the first question that I want you to ask yourself is, how do you fill your space? If you look around your house, is it sports gear standing around? Is it photos of the family and the grandchildren, grandkids? Who do you see? Who's in your house? Is it the decor? Is it having a nice house? How do you fill your space? That's the first question that I want to ask you. So you can just even look around your own home and see how do you fill your space? Maybe write it down. Okay, the next question that I want to ask you is, how do you spend your time? We all have those conflicts of values and priorities. It's because we want to go out for dinner tonight and socialize with more friends, and our partner wants to stay at home because they're an introvert and they don't want to socialize. Typical example. How do you spend your time? Are you on the golf course on a Saturday morning? Are you hiking? How do you spend your time? Apart from work, we all need to work, but anything else? Okay, then the next one is, how do you spend your energy? Where do you put in all your energy? Is it in your relationships? Is it in your work? Is it in family? Is it in, health habits? Is it making food? Socialize? Where do you spend your energy? Okay, and then the next, money is a form of energy. And where energy flows, money goes. So you can ask yourself, all the things that you just mentioned, you will realize that that is also the people and the places that you spend normally your money. I don't know if you can realize that already. Just put yes in the chat box if it starts to make sense. Okay, so where are you most organized? Because I mean, you'll be very organized with your social life and you do a lot of planning 3 months ahead. If social is one of your highest priorities. So where are you most organized? Or is it maybe your finances? Or you everything is planned, everything is neat in a file? You like to be very ordered? Then I'm not that good with filing, I'll be honest. Okay, so where are you most reliable? What are people complaining about? And what are they praising you about? What do they say? Listen, you're very good at this, but you're not good at something else. And we all know the biggest conflicts that we have is with the things that we're not good at, because it shows our weaknesses. And that's also part of our values. So what is not your highest values? Because that is where you're not that reliable. Okay, then the next one, what dominates your thoughts? We've got so many things that we think on a daily basis, and those thoughts are read to sort out what, or to achieve what, or to prioritize what, because that is our highest values. So what dominates your thoughts? Okay, and then what do you visualize most? Or we can also say, what do you dream about most? Do you dream of the bank account or the next holiday? I know I visualize a lot of holidays. That's a high priority in my life. And then the next one, what do you most often talk to yourself about? So what is that inner chatter in the conversation that you're having with yourself? Where do you scold yourself and you say to yourself, I'm not good enough? Is it because you're not doing the work that you're supposed to do? Are you not committed to the family? You would love to be more committed to the family, but you just don't have the time. So then we scold ourselves and say, listen, I'm a bad mother, or I'm a bad person because I'm not getting around to that. It is actually a highest priority for me, but I just don't get around to it. What inspires you? And then what do you most often talk to others about? And I just had a discussion with Willie before we started with the session, and I love personal development. So myself and Willie is always talking about personal development and, you know, we blind spots and where can we improve? So yeah, what do you most often talk to others about? Is it about the kids, about the golf? Is it about tennis? Is it about travel? Okay, and then the next one is what and have stood the test of time, because that's obviously a high priority for you. And then the last one is, what do you love to learn or read about most? If you're a reader, do you read just to chill, or do you actually want to improve your knowledge and your skills on a certain subject? You know, health or eating habits or a diet book or whatever, or reading about babies or children or whatever. Okay, so that's the exercise. Tell me, is it helpful? What is your 3 highest values that you've quickly identified through doing this exercise? Tell me, is it helpful? What is your 3 highest values that you've quickly identified through doing this exercise? If you can just put it quickly in the chat box, the answer will come up again and again and again because it will roughly be the same. So if you can just put your 3 highest priorities or values in the chat box, I would appreciate that. And if you want to share anything, you can just put up your hand. But if you don't mind, just put it in the chat box. Learning, networking, business, money, love, peace, music. Great. Self-development. My child, my business, health connection, family. Oh, my dog, Sophie. Thanks, Lily. Harma, learning, spirituality, health, and integrity. Harmony, Anita, great. Happiness, family, and golf. I see there's passion, money, and healthy living. Health and spirituality. Plants. Wow, great. My son and friends, living in the present, and intuition inspires me. Great, great, great. I love that. Because it's our fears that's keeping us stuck and our intuition that needs to guide us. Thanks for that, Shanine. Anybody else wants to share? Okay, so what did you realize with this example is that we actually spent much more time, effort, energy. That's the thing that we love. We just tend to flow with it. We don't, and sometimes we will fight for that. We will fight for time to go and play golf or fight for the time to spend time on our health. Rabia, being in harmony with my body, soul, and mind. Brilliant. So this is a great exercise. You can use the exercise to do with your children, with your spouse, and you'll be surprised if you know each other's values. You will see that is the time. That's one of the reasons why we have conflict. Some people want harmony and some people don't want harmony. So yeah, we're all different people with all different types of personalities. Marshall is saying others' happiness and ability to raise happiness. Brilliant. I love that, Marshall. Anybody else wants to share? Okay. So what I want to ask you now is just so to create some perspective on our values. If you think of your own journey, let's say 2 years ago or 3 years ago, was this also the same, your values the same, or did it move maybe? Maybe something happened during COVID, you lost your job, or you had to support family. And maybe some of those values moved as well because there was a different priority now all of a sudden. Anybody that can recognize a value shift that happened in the past 3 to 5 years? Can you see that?
Yeah, I think in my own case, as I said earlier, I was very much into doing my own thing in independence. And definitely it moved to more sense of purpose, I would say, and definitely more to health. And also in terms of COVID, remember a while ago we all talked about we hope we don't go back to the old normal, and we all want a new normal. And it's now more than 2 years, and unfortunately, I see a lot of people is moving back to the old normal. I hope not, but I think I would have hoped that the world at large will move more to humanity, more to what's good for humanity, the earth, everything. And the irony is, now that the COVID is sort of, not that scared anymore, it's still valid, it's still there. Now we have another thing coming to the world, it's the war in Ukraine. It's actually a bit weird how that happens, but there will always be things like this that happen. But I think happiness and to have peace is more important now to me than ever before. I see Golda have a hand up. Golda?
Hi, yes. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I think for me the greatest shift, and it wasn't so much a shift in my values. It was just a shift in my perspective, and it was that it took a retrenchment for me to actually realize what my true worth and my true potential was, to step into my power and to start my own business. I've been doing this part-time since 2014. I've been a healer and Reiki and readings and all of that, and I've had these gifts for so long, but it took this whole thing to say enough now. I'm done with this. People will never know your value unless you can actually recognize your own value. And I think it's in times like this that this mind shift and this perspective has to change. We have to step into our power, and we have to actually do what drives us, that inner passion, that inner drive. Because if we're going to stay small, like you were saying, Billy, it's like, what are we doing for humanity? What are we giving back? Because when we do something that we're passionate about and we give back, that's when we have an effect on the people around us, on our community.
Very true.
Yeah, thanks, Golda, for sharing that. I think we all can step into our own power and actually help other people, because then we truly give our gifts away. That's when we find our own power. Sometimes life will throw us really into deep, dark places, and sometimes it's only pain. I mean, we talk about it, myself and Willie, but sometimes pain is putting you into your purpose and your power. Pain can give you, the deepest pain can give you the most power and the most purpose in your own life. It's not an easy journey, but it's the most rewarding one. Willie, comment on that.
Yeah, a good saying, what you're saying is that there's also saying that we cannot choose the music life plays to us, but we can choose how to dance to it. I think that was a powerful saying that somebody said earlier ago. And it's attitude, and I think and everything starts with yourself. If we want a better planet and a better life and more, it starts with you. It's like an in-and-out approach. It all starts with yourself. It's not about other people. It's about yourself and good values. And if you do not have the right values, because we sometimes trample on other people's values. So where conflict happens is when we don't accept other people's views of things, and we actually trample on their values, not accepting where they are. It's when we are not willing to admit that we might be wrong, for example, because we feel very okay in our skins. We think that our values are also other people's values. Of course, there's a lot of similar values, but your values are your values, not other people's values. And where there's a disconnect, it means that we have to accept the values of the other person, other people, not pushing my values in somebody's throat.
Thanks, Willie. COVID was good to my business. However, I found people desperate and aggressive overall. being part of a family and self-owned business has given us the opportunity to have the flexibility, be willing to be wrong and accept the values of others. Thanks, Michelle, for that. Yeah, I think we need to be willing to be wrong. Then we're not projecting our own values onto other people. Anybody else wants to share and can see that their values, so life cycles, your cycle of life actually differs for different people, and your values will shift according to that, your personality. So there's quite a lot of things that actually impacts on the values and what is your highest values at the moment. Yeah, so Willie, we can carry on with the next slide. And
Yeah.
I think I explained a little bit about the COVID and how it also changed over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think what I want to mention is where does the values fit in the bigger picture. And this is a very nice model, and you can also call it a self-coaching tool if you want to. It's called logical levels. The guy that sort of put this together was a person called Robert Dilts. And if you look at where you operate in your life, of course, there's where you are. That's called the internal and external environment. It's your work or at home. It answers the question, where are you in terms of the environment? And in that environment, of course, there's things that happens there. It answers the question, what? What do you do? It's your tasks, it's your behaviors, it's things you do, it's things it's all your behaviors. You know, how you treat people, how you treat your work, things you do, or your tasks. But then if you want to do any tasks or being in relationships, whatever, there's a how to it. So how do you do that? Because in order to do your job, you need to have certain skills. But you have to be motivated to do that. There should be a why behind it. And that is where values and beliefs fit in the reality of being human. It's more like higher up in this logical levels. But there's a who, it's you, there's identity. And then you can go, but who else? It's things bigger than yourself. It can be society or a belief system. It can be religion, it can be spirituality. It's more than you. And if you look at from a logical perspective, it actually makes sense. So sometimes what happens with us that we have a problem in our relationships here in our environment because we treat each other in a certain way. But then sometimes we address a problem on the level we see it. But if we address problems or issues or realities on a higher level, it usually solves everything below. For example, if your belief is that I am not good in relationships, if you remember what you think, you start to believe, and you will actually go at lengths to prove your belief system. So if you, for example, believe that you are not good in relationships, you will actually prove to yourself you're not, and that will affect how you behave towards maybe relationships. So if you change your belief system, you will change your belief system. Or for example, what I use is that a person gets a job as a sales person at a company, and the person is not selling goods. Well, you can send that person to a skills course how to sell better, but the person will not necessarily sell more cars. But then maybe later you can find out that person on the identity level doesn't see her or himself, I'm not a salesperson. And that influences everything below. So sometimes it works also the other way around, but mostly if we focus on our beliefs and values, it changes things below. Just a useful model, if you experience certain challenges in your life, is usually look at the bigger picture and think of your values and beliefs. And also, if you can remember, in one of our previous sessions, we talked about positive intelligence. The positive intelligence, emotional intelligence, it affects your values and beliefs. It's how you respond to life, appropriately to life. So if you believe, or if you understand that you have a brain that sometimes have a lot of saboteurs in your head, you know, that you are very judgmental, you judge yourself very harshly, that noise in your head. But if you can shift your values and beliefs about how your brain functions, then you know that the better route to go for yourself and for your health is to have more empathy, which is the opposite of judge. So judging yourself, but rather have empathy for yourself. Judging other people, rather have empathy for other people. Judging the world, rather have empathy for the world. And if you can believe in that way of thinking, then you will be more feeling calm in yourself. And that means that it's easier then to keep the bigger picture, what really matters. And also you can think more creatively. You can see things for what they really are and not put a judgment on it, and you can take the action. There's a poet, Goethe, that wrote many years ago, things that matter most must never be at the mercy of things that matter least. And that's something that still today I think about. You know, what is the real essence of things? Where am I really going? You know, who am I? You know, am I just I'm more than my personality. Who am I? I've learned to cope with life, but maybe I should not. I should get out of this coping way of living and more to a thriving way of living. And it has a lot to do with your values and beliefs. So I just wanted to show this, that you can see where values and beliefs fit in our you know, human lives. Alta, does that make sense?
Then, Willie, yeah, I want to ask the audience as well, because I love the subconscious beliefs. We carrying around so many subconscious beliefs in finances, in you know, relationships, in work environments, in you know, the world as a collective. There's so much of value systems and belief systems that's governing financial decisions and relationship decisions. I think in the previous session, I just want to, for the people that did not attend, you know, we've got different cultures, and the different cultures has got different subconscious beliefs about money, who must pay for what and who must look after you know, each other, you know, in the different cultures around the world. We get so many different subconscious beliefs, and people don't even realize that they're living out those subconscious beliefs. And it's like you said, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So those subconscious beliefs is critical to understand, but it's also showing us we're limiting ourselves in terms of sabotage. But it's typically when we judge other people, it's also, you know, it's to make us feel better because we're projecting that actually on somebody else.
Alta, can we talk about a bit of shifting of values? You know, do you think it's easy for people? Is it difficult for people? How do you see the whole concept of shifting your values? Because if we talk about values, you are where you are, you have your values. But then is it a good idea to think about to change values, and how would one go about it?
Yeah, I think really, look, shifting your values, I think we'll, you know, exercise that I would love to do is to tell people how they can actually change their destiny by shifting, you know, your values. Because I mean, typically somebody that's not going to the gym, sometimes they need to get a serious illness before they will, you know, they need that pain to change, to get a shift in values. And typically what we see around us now happening, you know, people will have cancer, you know, and then they will take action. I mean, we see it around us. We wait for the pain to move our habits and our values. And I think sometimes it's easier to select and to choose. We can determine our own destiny, and we can live more into who we want to be in the future. I think on a subconscious level, if you ask me that, it's sometimes very difficult. We know it because you actually have to, the more you raise your own conscious levels, your own understanding, it's so much easy to see and recognize that maybe this is a belief system driving my decisions for me. What is this belief system? Why is it causing so much pain for me? Yes, it's possible to shift value systems, but let's hear from the audience. I would love to hear.
Make notes. My view is, before you maybe answer, put up your hand or put something in the chat box. My view in my life, I saw it that people change values and beliefs for two reasons. The one is trauma, as you said, something happened to you, lose your job, or you're insolvent, you lose your marriage, trauma. And the other reason why people would change is for a compelling reason. There must be a compelling reason. Is not really a compelling reason. It's difficult for people to change. You know, that's that is my experience. But let's listen to what the people are saying or want to add in the chat box.
What do they think? Is it easy to shift it? One of the things that Joanne always revert back to is a song that says, your decisions determines your destiny. Be careful what you choose. Yeah, Chris, right. We all got choices, eh? That's what we don't realize, is that we all got choices, and every day we choose, every minute we choose. And as Willie said earlier on, you know, if you say yes to one thing, you're going to have to say no to something else. But I think what we don't realize is sometimes how we live out the belief systems and the value systems of the people around us. Not to have that fear of rejection and fear of abandonment, or experience that, you know, in our family, friends, and even in work environments. Sometimes we will say yes where we need to say no. Sometimes, you know, we're living up to the standards and the value systems and belief systems of other people instead of creating and living up to our own value systems. It can be good. So the crux is, Billy, I think, is to surround yourself with people who you want to become. Because you also, you know, you become like the the people that's closest to you. You start to talk to them like they're talking to each other. The thought patterns is the same, the behavior patterns is the same, the beliefs patterns is the same. But I think if you want to master your own life, is to go and surround yourself with people that think on a different level, that believe on a different level, that ask different questions, and I think that can really change your life. I don't know about you or anybody else that wants to mention anything.
I think to add to that, two things. First of all, we sometimes think we don't have choices, but we must remind ourselves we do have choices. We have a lot of choices. But secondly, the whole thing of support. We sometimes don't want support, and it's wrong. And you must think of what support you need to get where you want to be. It's your life. You have only this life. And life is there to celebrate, not to cope. So if you can change your view of life to celebrate and not to cope all the time, because we've learned from baby time, we learned coping strategies, and we haven't really so actively learned thriving strategies. So for example, I take myself, you know, I know I have made a decision that I want to live more healthy. But it's so easy to say that intellectually, you realize that. So what support do I get? Well, I make sure that I have, like, I'm now drinking tea and I've got the tea with me and a can of water, usually, not now here, but usually. I have on my desk, I have apples and bananas, because if I don't put it there, I will not eat it. And very important, what I did, there's a company in Pretoria, they are called Journey to Health. And the people there, I visit them once a month, and they check, how was my diet and what is my weight, and did I, everything about health. And then I get back from there, and I feel so motivated again. So it helps me, where I've shifted my value, like health as a high value, it helps me. So that's the key. Get support. If you struggle with something, get support. You're not alone. If you struggle with thought patterns, that's very negative, and now you realize, oh, I mustn't think like that, I must think like that. It's easy to say it, but get support. It could be psychology, it could be a coach, it could be whatever. But that's a choice you have. You have a choice of support. That is the thing that I just wanted to add. There's something in the chat box, I think.
Yeah, Willie, I see there's somebody that asked, Makompi asked, could you please give an example of an instance where someone changed their values due to a compelling reason, as you put it?
Okay. I think in my own case, a compelling reason for me was my health. I was diagnosed with some kind of a super back that is sort of killing me, and that's a compelling reason for me to change. And that is what I did. The hospitals couldn't help me, and now I'm living quite a healthy life. I must say, I feel healthy, I live healthy. For me, that was my compelling reason. Sometimes a compelling reason can be in relationships, if you are especially married with kids, and for whatever reason, your spouse say to you, no, not anymore, I don't want to live with you, blah, blah, blah. I think to want to save your marriage or save your relationship is definitely a compelling reason for some people. That has maybe there's other reasons as well. That I see that as a compelling reasons, is where you look death in the eye, that type of thing, or breakdown of a serious relationship, or maybe patterns of behavior that you found in your life that you're constantly getting back to square one, constantly getting back to square one. I personally was a point in my life about 20 years ago where I was lying in a bed in a room in a commune, where I say to myself, Willie Snyman, how the hell did you get here? Then I had to think seriously, and I think for me, I got my compelling reason to change there, because I looked at patterns of failed relationships, and I said that never again. I'm going to work on my relationships, and today I see myself as a relationship coach, because I can help people there. What else is
the next one there's in the chat is Irene. She's saying, what about external factors like everything that is happening in our country? Feels like it's totally out of our control, resulting in being judgmental. Can't really change any of that.
That is a good point. I mean, there are certain things in our control and certain things not in our control. And I think a good value, belief, or a way of thinking is to focus on things that's in your control. And those things that's not really in your control, you have to accept what you cannot control. Now, the word accept does not mean you agree with it. And that is where the confusion in our language sometimes, because we say we accept things, it means now you also agree to it. No. Acceptance is to see things for what they are. What if it's out of your control, you cannot change that, but you can change how you look at it, and you can change how you view it, and you can view it differently so that it makes sense. That you can do, but yes, there's certain things you cannot do. What else is there in the chat box?
Golda said change is the only constant in life. Life moves in cycles, and we choose to keep up with the change occurring around you. That is when you become flexible and you become willing to shift your values to become more supportive of new dreams and visions for a better future. Right. Then Anita says, as a people pleaser, I spend my time supporting people around me and forgot that charity starts at home. Brilliant. I struggle with authenticity. I feel that very few people are just who they are, as if everyone is trying to portray something or someone that they are not, to fit in. Brilliant. Sarfaz, yeah, we need to go back to our authentic self. It's the inner child. We just spoke about it earlier, myself and Billy. It's the inner child that's saying to us, we're not good enough, and all the self-abandonment, self-rejection that we caused on ourselves. And it's important to go back to the authentic self. There's quite a few messages, still more. Marshall say, I've found from experience that getting physically into communities to do actions to help and educate, like this seminar, works to create ripples of change. Yeah, thanks, Marshall. That is our whole purpose. Okay, Michelle said, in my experience, fear prevented me from change. I realized that I could still be scared, but to try at the very least once. This helped me to see that although it is difficult, and I might be only fear that's stopping us, it's the survival mind. We need to shut down the brain and live from the heart. And that is the longest path that we need to live here on earth, is to move from our thought patterns. Vili, anything else that you want to share?
No, it's fine. I think we can maybe move on to what you said, redesign your value system. Do you want to do that exercise, Alta? Shall I show the slide? There you are.
Okay, so yeah, so we are not victims. We can be victors of our reality. We've got a choice that we can make. We can redesign our values. Remember, the best way to do is to live from your authentic self, but we can also redesign our values, as Vili mentioned, is to say, listen, if I want to get to 80, what I need to do now, and I'm going to use myself as an example. I just turned 50 recently. So by the way, so what happened, Otta, if you want to thank yourself at the age of 60, what do you need to do at the age of 50 so that you can be thankful when you get to 60, for example? So you need to think of your future self and say to yourself, at that age, I want to look back at my own life and I want to say, listen, Alta, that decisions that you've made at the age of 50 to exercise, to eat healthy, that was great decisions. It was great changes that you made into in your own life. So that is how we redesign it. So yes, just 5 questions that you can ask yourself is, what do my values need to be in order to create my ultimate destiny? So maybe 10 years from now, what is that values that you need to have in order to create that best self? And in order to have the largest impact in your own lifetime, we've only got one life. Maybe it's time that we need to look internal and see, where can I move it? Where can I shift? What other values would I need to add? And then maybe there's values. What values should I eliminate from my list? Ultimate destiny. Maybe that binge eating or chocolate cakes. We need balance in our lives, but maybe it's too much of chocolate cake and too much of binge eating or drinking. Must I say drinking rather? But what values should I eliminate from my list in order to achieve my ultimate destiny? Maybe it can just be a value of less judgmental, more listening. Okay, then what benefit do I get by having this value in this position? And if you use that matrix, what Willie mentioned, so your own identity will actually, you will be more, I would want to say, your authentic self. Okay, in what order? And you can go and play around with these questions after the session. Friends, the children. In what order do my values need to be to achieve my ultimate destiny? So maybe it's some things that you need to change right now. Maybe it's things that you need to change in the next 3 to 6 months to say, listen, I actually need to eliminate this from my life, this from my life, and I want to change my values because I want to change my destiny. Intentional, because what happens with the subconscious mind, Willie, and now you're going to talk with me. The subconscious mind, we just live our lives. We don't make conscious choices every single day. And the subconscious mind is playing like a reel. We're living that same little pattern, the same emotional, you know, that same personality. We've got the same triggers on a daily basis. What are you learning from your triggers? Is it a money trigger? What is that triggers that's keeping you stuck? That's playing that reel over and over in your own subconscious mind in your head. And where can we, if we look at the whole purpose of our webinar series, is not to live life by default, because then we live in survival mode. But if we make intentional choices, then we can move over to thriving. Then I'm going to make an intentional choice to look, why is this triggering to me? If we look at the same situation, one person will be triggered and get cross, another person will laugh at the situation, and another person will walk away, and the other person won't react. But why do we have those responses and reactions? Why can we not just respond? Why do we have reactions? And I think that coming back to the exercise is, where do I need to put intentional you know, intention behind my values so that I can change my life. We've only got one life, and not to live by fate. We actually got much more choice than we realize. Willie?
Yeah, if I can, what I want to add to that is, if we look at this in our series that we do, and also tonight, I think the question in your head should be, you know, that typical thing of what are you going to start doing intentionally, and what is there that you should stop doing or thinking or do differently, and what is there that you currently do that you want to maintain. So that should always be on the back of our minds if you want to change anything, because what I've learned in my life is that if you don't intentionally want something really compelling, you will not have that, the pull will not be there, and you will so easily fall back into what we say life by default. So you just follow you don't follow your dreams, you just follow how your body thinks, how your body feels, about your energy, it's so easy to say these things, but that's why I say, if we say life by design and not life by default, as you put it, then it means that you have to intentionally think, what do you want to change? And I want to add to get the support for that. It's not everybody can just stand up and say, no, I changed my life. It doesn't work like that. So yeah, thank you. That's my contribution. There's, I think, most things in the chat. It's just people that went, yeah. Yeah, I think anything else, maybe anybody wants to share something from their lives, or you know, there's that saying, can you really can a leopard change its spots? You know, no, it can't. But sometimes maybe it can. but we don't talk about the physical thing like that. You know, we talk about the thinking patterns, emotional patterns. You can change emotional patterns. You cannot maybe just say, I'm going to change my personality, but you can shift in the way how you treat people, so the reaction you get from them is in such a way that you don't react again. So there's things you can change, but you have to see a compelling reason behind it. Then it's easier to change. And then I will say with support, as that. Yeah, but just what say Mongompi there? He's saying.
So I agree that you need to act intentionally in order to thrive. However, certain circumstances, no, there it jumps, sorry. Certain circumstances
can force your life into a specific direction and you still thrive. For example, Oprah Winfrey became a terrific talk show host not by choice. Yeah, it's actually quite a good example. Marcel is saying, was having very difficult time changing my life by looking at my goals and purposes, and suddenly with these steps I see how. Thank you for this. Yeah, and you know, another thing that I want to add is what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another person. So you have to find out what works for you. For some people, it means that, you know, I'm part of the 5 o'clock club from Robert Sharma, and I'm part of the club, and I am 5 o'clock in the road. For other people, it really means like a total change in certain health habits, like walking, running, drinking water, sleeping more, all those things. For other people, it's therapy. For other people, it's whatever. But the fact is, we have choices. So you have a choice to say that I want to redesign my life. I don't want to be in a default position. I want to do that, but with support. I think that is maybe the essence.
Yeah, I think, Vali, just to add on what you mentioned, is life by default is we stay victims of our past, and we're not moving forward. We think we move forward, but we actually stay the victim. You know, if trigger in your life, you know, and you don't, you know, look at that trigger, you stay a victim to that. And to move out of that, you need to live intentionally. And you move intentionally your values, you can thrive. And it's really by looking at your past that you can break free and move intentionally to the future.
Yeah, if you can learn from the past, sometimes we can't learn from the past, but if you can learn from the past, that's fine. But what happens with us also, sometimes you really screw up, you know, you make a big mistake, but that's then past. So I think the beauty of life is also to say, okay, I start again. I start today. I leave the past. I see the future. And then wherever you are, be there. So it's then the focus is living in the now with the thing of, I want happiness. I want a thriving relationship, taking risks into account and making better decisions. And if you made a couple of not so good decisions, every day is from scratch. Every day you can take the first step into another direction. And that's a choice you have. And sometimes people feel on default level, they don't have a choice. But on design level, you do have a choice. And you also have a choice to get support if you need that.
Yeah, Willie, the last thing that I want to maybe add, thanks for that, is that you know, if you make that choice and you put the intention behind it, and not a place from judgment. Because sometimes we want to scold ourselves for all our mistakes that we've made in the past, but then we also blocking ourselves from moving forward. It's really having that compassion and kindness and empathy for yourself, and then you can move forward. Because if we keep on judging ourselves, we will never move forward.
Yeah.
That is important to just for yourself.
Yeah, I think why values are also so important is to help us to create balance in our lives. Now, there's a very great book that you can read. The book is called Intimacy and Desire from David Schnarch. And he sort of looked at all these things, especially with relationships, and he coined a phrase, 4 points of balance. And that is where values will help us to get to those 4 points of balance. And it is so, and I really would like to share this with you. It's such a nice way of putting all these things that we've discussed tonight together in I would say in one slide actually. So if you look at this, let's assume also the comments that some of you put there, and also one of the comments that actually Safas put there in terms of just authentic who you are, is if you can be really who you are, you know, with your values, your solid self, if you are who you are. But the fact of the matter is you're not the only person on this planet. We live with other people. You live with partners. You live with your spouse. You live in a connecting world. You don't just live in a secluded village. You work at your work. So you cannot 100% be so yourself that you disturb other people. So it means that you need to be flexible. So that's the important things to realize, to say that 1 point of balance is to be who you are, but to be and to act a flexible, solid self. So that's the departure point. So that's where you start. So if you get that right, and you add to that, you add a calm heart and a quiet mind, then the magic starts to happen. Because when you're flexible, solid self, you don't need another person to validate you. So that's one thing to realize. If you're fully flexible, solid self, you don't need another person to validate you. And if you add calm heart and quiet mind, it will mean that you will not blame everybody. It will actually put you into that position, that what we call positive intelligence. It is where you move away from coping strategies to thriving strategies. It is because when you have a calm mind, a calm brain, if you're calm, and if you can put yourself there calm by meditation or by means that works for you, if you are in a calm mind, then it's easy to have empathy for yourself and for other people and for the world. Not judge, because judge is a negative, dark emotion. Positive emotion is empathy for you, empathy for another person, empathy for the world. Then it's easy to keep the bigger picture in mind, what matters most. It's easier then to be creative and to see that maybe there's another way to look at things and to take action. But you know, if you add to the mix a third component, and that third component is grounded response, it will then means you're not attacking, you're not slamming the door. So because you see now, you are where you are, but you're also flexible. You have a calm heart and a quiet mind. You know what you want to do. So you will be able to respond better. And if you have the so-called grounded response, then you will also get the right reaction from the world around you. And if you now put a fourth thing to the mix, and that is like meaningful endurance. So it's not everything that happens to you now you run away. It's not to hold a grudge. It's to have the ability to have a forgiving spirit, I would say, that you can also forgive. Then you have meaningful endurance, but not endurance at all cost. Meaningful endurance. So if you look at the words, flexible, solid self, calm heart, quiet mind, grounded response, meaningful endurance, then you will achieve some sort of a balance in your life. And that is where values will, the supports actually values, is this balance that we all need to strive for, I would say. I hope it makes sense. you're welcome to comment on this or to make comments in the chat room. I think we are sort of at the end of our session. Maybe it will be great if some of you maybe can comment also directly, or maybe to add something that you think we missed. We will go ahead with the series. Alta, you mentioned to me the other day that the next focus, we're going to take it further. What did you, I can't specifically remember, the next phase, but don't worry, you'll think of it in a moment. But yeah.
I can't remember, but anyway,
no,
my intuition will guide me.
We'll communicate. Also there in the chat, thank you, Michelle. That's quite a good saying, wherever you are, be there. And then Shanine is saying, I usually become overwhelmed by having too many things going on at the same time. I had to learn to slow down and take one step at a time, which translates to less frustration, more calm, and a little more patience. I actually like that. And then that person, I don't know who's admin, but anyway, read the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, The Power of Thinking Without Thinking. I like that. I've heard about the book. I haven't read the book, but I'll certainly see. Thank you, Anita, that you said this is what's valuable for you. So the whole point of the matter is that we actually have, in a way, we know what to do. Deep inside, we know what to do, but we don't. And I hope that these webinars series that we do will just help you to become more aware. It's all about being aware, because if you are aware of something, then you can decide, then you can make a choice. I want to keep it or I want to change it. But we have a lot of choices, and we also have the choice for support. That is how I found out in my life. If I struggle with something, I need support, and then we get support. Lydia, donkey. I see Lydia is admin. Thank you, Lydia, for joining us. Also, a person that we can learn a lot from. Lydia, you're very quiet. We can learn a lot from Lydia. She also really walked the life, I would say. So if you look at these 4 things I've mentioned, just purposefully look at it, address it, and see what can you do. What can you do to become more flexible? You are where you are, but what can you do? What can you do to become more calm? What can you learn from to have your responses better? How the stuff life throws you. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, Willie, maybe the people can just share in the chat box, anything one thing that they picked out from this whole session.
Yeah, please share with us one thing that you can take away, and it's all that thing we all say as coaches, Alta, that stop, start, maintain. What is there that you, because of what you've learned maybe tonight, not want to do or want to start doing anything, but just share. It helps us to see what is also of interest, what made impact, and you're welcome to ask us to do other things also that we need to focus on going forward.
Yeah, they can put in the chat box if there's anything that they want us to focus on specifically. Yeah, we go as to also what I think, Willie, we spoke about it, is, we need to survive together, and it doesn't help, there's one game we all lose, and that's the game of war and selfishness, and we need to co-create and be creative, and yeah, moving forward together. So people is more than welcome to share if they want anything specifically. The one modality I work with uses questions to help create awareness where you're feeling triggered or anxious. How does this point of view support me at this time? Yeah, Golda, yeah, brilliant. How does this point of view support me at this time? Especially if you get triggered or anxious in any situation. There's a fear, and it needs to give you a message. If there's fear coming up, any survival fear, it's there maybe for an important message. Maybe it's time to let it go. Brilliant. Thanks. Anybody else? Your list of questions really helped me identify values. These are clear to me now, so I can now prioritize and make some important changes. Thanks. Balance is not something you find, it's something you create. Yeah. Anita, thanks. Okay, Philly, I think we're done. If there's deep breathing also helps to calm down in the moment. Herma, yes, brilliant. I'll chat with you about deep breathing. It's very powerful. It connects the body and the mind. And actually the trauma is stored in the body. I think, I can't remember who mentioned that body talk. I saw something in the chat about body talk as well. Our subconscious is actually stored in the body. But thanks for that. Maybe we can chat with the people, and if they would like to share, you know, healing modalities that work for them, really to calm their mind, release trauma. People sometimes think it's huge traumas. It's small traumas that's creating our lives and the baggage that we carry with us. Yeah, but you're more than welcome to share. Let me just see this.
Chris is mentioning there to focus on better decisions and more selective about the company we keep. Yes, it's true. Sometimes we need to cut people out of our lives. It sounds terrible, but sometimes maybe it's needed, you know, or be very selective with our company as we become more like those who spend time with. Yes, if you have people in your inner circle that's there for support, it uplifts you. And then Mongombe is saying, what I'm taking from the session is the importance of balance in one's life. I need to hear about how to get out of your comfort zone without fear of failure. Definitely something we can also look, you know, in future sessions. Yeah, Herma is making a comment. My body brought huge trauma to the surface. It's a road that I've started to travel on. My motto is, man, fully alive is glory to God. Thank you, Herma, for that. Yeah, Rabaya is saying, what I benefit is to redesign by life for the next few years and to create moments which will create positive thoughts in difficult time. Yeah, and it is definitely doable. It's absolutely doable, and if you struggle, you get support. Definitely get support. That's why we're here. Myself and Alta, we don't want to charge for these sessions. It's also we also do this for ourselves, but we do it for the world and for you and for the public. And we are there to support and help you. And if any one of you wants to contact either me or Alta, we are both doing the same type of work. We do inner healing, we do financial coaching, we do enneagrams. We do positive intelligence workshops, we do counseling, and we do a lot of life coaching, and also some, anything. Yeah, you're welcome to contact either me or Alta. And I think maybe at this stage, Alta, any last words from your side?
Yeah, no, I want to thank everybody that took the time tonight to join us. I know time is very valuable. And yeah, thanks for joining us. And if you want to invite people to the next session, more than welcome. We're here to help change the world. We want a loving, kind world that we want to live in. And the more we can spread and help other people to spread that same message, you know, would really appreciate it. So we need to take hands to make this world a better place. And I think, Willie, we mentioned it, I think yesterday or the day before, but we need to adapt or we're going to die.
You see, the reality of life is all going to die one day. And what's left now is to really to make the best of everything. I just want to add something there. Chris said, I think the main thing is we don't always realize how trauma affects us. That's true. And how a small thing can snowball into one large burden to carry. which we need to work through and learn to adapt and to be better. So, Joanne, yeah, no, that's very true. Thank you, Joanne, for that, and thank you for your kind words, Safas. Michelle mentioned there's a poem called Clarity, very applicable for tonight. I'll check that tonight. Thank you, Michelle, appreciate that. Thank you, Herma, for your kind words. Yes, I think we can now officially, also, just lastly, Michelle, thanks a lot for helping us to put all this together. Michelle Lategin is our marketing agent, and she did the slides for us, and she organized everything. She made it so easy for me and Alta, so we can just come, we can present, we can present, and then Michelle is there, that she arranges all the stuff, doing the slides, doing all the nitty-gritty stuff. Thanks a big for your help, Michelle. Really, that is very much support. Just lastly, just look at maybe something else. Thank you, Michelle, that you said it was encouraging, and some people is thanking us. We thank you for that. So thank you, everybody. You're welcome now to log off if you want to. I think we'll, as last time, we'll stay on a while for a few minutes for those who wants to stay. But I mean, we've presented what we think was a focused presentation, and we will have you on a list now. So basically, you'll be on an advertisement list. And just interesting to say that I'm also a trainer, and sometimes I train things which I do not necessarily like. I happened to do some training today at the bank on the Poppy Act and FICA and all this boring stuff. So I'm very aware of Poppy, meaning the personal information. So we will not abuse the advertisements here, but you're welcome to opt out if you find too many of our emails.
To invite people to the next session, more than welcome. We're here to help change the world. We want a loving, kind world that we want to live in, and the more we can spread and help other people to spread that same message, we would really appreciate it. So we need to take hands to make this world a better place. And I think, Willie, we mentioned it, I think yesterday or the day before, but we need to adapt or we're going to die.
You see, the reality of life is all going to die one day. And what's left now is to really to make the best of everything. I just want to add something there. Chris said, I think the main thing is we don't always realize how trauma affects us. That's true. And how a small thing can snowball into one large burden to carry, which we need to work through and learn to adapt and to be better. So, Joanne, yeah, no, that's very true. Thank you, Joanne, for that, and thank you for your kind words, Safas. Michelle mentioned there's a poem called Clarity, very applicable for tonight. I'll check that tonight. Thank you, Michelle, appreciate that. Thank you, Herma, for your kind words. Yes, I think we can now officially. Also, just lastly, Michelle, thanks a lot for helping us to put all this together. Michelle Lategin is our marketing agent, and she did the slides for us, and she organized everything. She made it so easy for me and Alta, so we can just come, we can present, we can present, and then Michelle is there, that she arranges all the stuff, doing the slides, doing all the nitty-gritty stuff. Thanks a big for your help, Michelle. Really, that is very much support.